What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It is a fantastic Friday morning. And I know that it's Friday because I know my kids don't have school tomorrow. That's the only way that I know it's Friday. Dion, I don't understand how you do it because I can just keep the kids' schedule. That's basically all I can do. But super excited to be here with you guys tonight. What we wanted to do is we wanted to celebrate our buddy. We wanted to celebrate Millennial Mike because he was absolutely awesome last night on the Raging Tomato. I understand why they call it that now.
I still don't.
It's fitting. I think it's fitting. There was a lot of rage there last night, and I think obviously, credit to the host. She does a great job of picking third rail topics. So good for her. Like not afraid. I thought she was actually probably one of the better hosts I've ever seen. That's like managing a gaggle of people. I thought she was fantastic in how she ran the room and how she largely gave everybody the opportunity to speak. And there was really no censorship there. So I loved that. I thought she was great. But Dion, what were your thoughts? I mean, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic live. For those of you who missed it, you got to go check it out. It's on the Raging Tomato. Millennial Mike, because it was the only fair way to do it, they had to bring 8 people to Mike. And then have conversation about how landlords are parasites. And I thought that Mike did a phenomenal job, but hey, that's just what I think about the situation. So Dion, talk to me. What do you think?
Well, honestly, until yesterday, I had never heard of the Raging Tomato. And so it's a YouTube channel with like 8,000 subscribers, but I'm guessing there's a big podcast presence because a lot of people seem to know who she was.
Yep.
And it was, so 2 things to point out first. I think it was really cool of you last night when Wayne in the chat said something about his debate. And I was like, oh, that's happening today. So I literally had to text Wayne and go, what channel is it on again? Because I forgot it was on. You forgot it was on. I didn't know what channel it was on.
I knew it was on, but I thought it was tomorrow. I thought it was today.
I thought it was the 13th for some reason. I think
something like that.
An interview on the 13th, and that was what my brain was saying.
Yeah.
So it was really cool that you cut your live short. So people could go show support for Mike. So that was a cool thing.
Yeah, no brainer.
But during this video, if it seems like I'm making any kind of critique of this, landlords versus overlords debate, it's definitely not of Sarah, who put together the Raging Tomato, which somebody will explain the name to me. It's difficult to manage a live stream, to look at chat, to keep a smile on your face and to not look like you're reading. And she did all that really well. And she like ran the room. I like the format. I'm probably going to use her format. And give credit. I'll even say, hey, look, I saw this on the Raging Tomato. Let's see how it goes. During my next live stream, I'm probably going to put the Zoom link in my course. Mm-hmm. And so I'll go live for like an hour, and then at the hour mark, I'll have anybody in the course who feels like jumping in the Zoom and answering questions or asking questions or anything, and get a panel going towards the end, especially if it's a controversial topic where we can maybe disagree. So compliments to you for calling it short. Compliments to her for doing it. She's really got a polished, I want to call it system or however she's doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm probably going to watch some of the content. So that's the positives. So I don't know if I'm glad Mike went on there instead of me or you. Mike, maybe it was that he wasn't watching the chat. Because
he definitely wasn't watching the chat. Too hard. Yeah, too hard.
Yeah, so the first 5 or 10 minutes, if you're a Raging Tomato fan watching this in Futureland, I apologize for the truth that might hurt your little feels. What a bunch of douchebags. Like, they just had nothing but negative to say. It was, this guy's a liar. This guy's parents gave him money. This guy, everything was just as negative as you can go. I'm surprised all the left-wing nut jobs weren't throwing the Nazi term in there.
Yeah.
And luckily, Mike wasn't watching the chat, because I would have had I always have the phone sitting over here so I could see the chat better. I would have been responding to that chat the whole time, making it a Raging Tomato episode. And what Mike did was told his story, was authentic, pointed out the things that are flaws with the system,
Mhm.
pointed out that there are bad apples, pointed out how the bad apples operate. And within 20 minutes, so there's like 10 to 15 minutes of just idiot statement after idiot statement after idiot statement. He flipped the room.
He did.
So long before they got to the point where Sarah and Mike were done talking and they got into the panel aspect of it, the comments, there were actual comments of, oh, I'm sorry, I had this guy pegged wrong. And so the idiots who just like to put hate comments, a lot of them went away.
Agreed.
And there was the people that were like, oh, this guy's actually saying he didn't come from a lot of money. He works he's a cop. He works kind of a blue collar job. He's reaching financial freedom. Maybe he's giving some points, and he's saying he doesn't rip off his tenants. He provides housing for Section 8. Like it brought the room around. And I think Mike did a good job of that. I wonder if he would have been like me if he saw the comments. Would it have gone that way, or would he have just, because I'd become combative?
Yeah, of course.
I would have, I love a good conflict. I like being contrarian. I think a conversation's better when people don't agree. Sometimes we'll bring up a topic and I'll find out what the other person's opinion is so that I can play devil's advocate. I'll even go, look, I don't believe what I'm about to say, but I want you to refute this. And I just like those conversations are better, because if you can't defend your position, why do you have your position?
Well, because usually it's doggy style and they're taking it from behind.
Right.
Much like that's
there was
their
a
position.
lot of that last night. So then the last thing, when it went to the panel, I think there was 3 guys in the panel, because it was Sarah and then a bunch of dudes. It was a sausage fest until the end. Right when Mike left, a lady came on. So I'm sure she has. She even said it. She has 99% male viewers, which I understand.
But that's one thing real quick. That's one thing that blows my mind, because even I have only 87% male viewers.
Yeah.
That's a little bit shocking to me.
I think I have like 105% women see my face and they go, yep, nope, I'm out of here. But there were like 3 guys in the chat, in the panel. I'd go hang out with.
1,000%.
Have a beer with, whatever.
Yep.
And then there were 7 to 10 or whatever was left. Simps. Yeah. Literally simping over her. I get why they're on the channel. So that's why I said I'll probably watch more Raging Tomato, but it'll probably be the interview portion, and then I'll just dip out whenever you put that much stupid on one screen. And I don't know the guys. It was just my exposure to like a couple hours of them talking last night.
Yeah, I think there were a couple people that were pretty useless. There was a guy named 10th Man. He was completely useless. He's from Canada. He's sitting there scolding us on all the things US, because I saw it on TV once. Like, the only lower qualification is having stayed at a Holiday Inn, but it's barely lower, And so he's sitting there going at it with Mike. And quite frankly, I lit up the chat with just exposing his lies. He was just out on there lying, acting like he knew what he was talking about. He has no idea that we have 30-year fixed rate debt in America. He has no idea that you can't write off profit against nothing. Like, we have to actually have profit to write off against it. So it's all these things that he just inherently doesn't know and doesn't understand, that quite frankly, my 7-year-old Samuel understands. And so that was kind of difficult to watch, because he was just like, burn. Yeah. Burn, like just waiting to like burn Mike, and he didn't burn on anything. The only thing that he burned was any credibility that he has with real men. Like, that's the only thing that he burned, was because nothing that he said was actually valid or carried any level of accuracy to it. The Canadian market is not fixed rate debt, and they only have 3, maybe 4 banks that even lend on mortgages. And now they're in an absolute housing crisis, because so many people bought when rates were 1 and now they're 7. And now people are very house poor, like 80%, 70% of their income going to their housing, because their payment went up that much. So I think it was an awesome debate. I think he handled himself wonderfully well, but there's always a couple turds in the punch bowl. The only issue is I love it when the turds actually have a valid point. Like, give me a real point. Give me something really to work with. I don't think 10th Man, quite frankly, I don't know if the guy's even employed. Like, I don't know how you can have that mindset and keep a job, because it's just like, well, I saw over there on TV once. Well, I've watched 3 documentaries. Those were his real answers. Was, I've seen 3 documentaries. I don't care. Any documentary can be done on any topic, and you can take the exact polar opposite view and still be right. And so that doesn't mean that you know anything just because you watched a documentary once. I like to go into situations asking people what they've experienced and what's happened and how did it work before I start forming opinions. And so what we find is, my general takeaway was, there were probably 40% to 50% of people had their mind made up, and they were living off of feeling juice. And that everything that they said was my feeling. I feel. And he's like, well, that's just because, I'm so humble. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's more because you live your life by feelings. That's really more what it is. And then the other piece to it, I think then there was another kind of 30% of people that said, hey, you know what? I'm actually here to learn. I actually want to understand what this guy has to say to see if there's any common ground, which I love and respect. And I think that was largely due to the host, Sarah, being so good at what she does, is actually getting a conversation flowing. And then I think there was probably, another 30% of guys that were on the panel. And I say guys because they were guys. But 30% of guys that were on the panel that were just like, yeah, we agree with this because we understand how economics works. What was really funny is I think lastly, before I let you jump back, Indy, was one of the guys saying, hey, that's how banks make money. You're clueless, dude. You have no fucking clue how banks make money. Banks, why is Fannie and Freddie, why are they the largest mortgage holders in the country? There's a reason for that. It's because they buy all the debt. And the reason why banks all sound the same is because they're using the same model to figure out that they're going to buy that debt. That's the criteria that Fannie and Freddie give banks. Is, here's our criteria. If you fill all those spots, if you check all those boxes, we will buy that debt. No questions asked, just fill that box and we will buy that debt. And that's what banks do. And then they sell that debt to Fannie Freddie, and then the banks get paid to service the account. That's actually how American banking works. Less than 10% of mortgages are held by the bank that originates them. Less than 10%. So those are facts. That's real. And yet I agree with you, D. Ducky that dude loves the sound of his own voice. But the funniest part is he loves the sound of his own voice, and saying nothing is how the rest of that saying should go.
Yeah. I think she did a good thing putting him on timeout a couple of times, because he would just ramble. And everyone that was there before us that knew the channel knows he just rambles. Yeah. I get it. There's that type.
Sure.
I liked Ryan, who was the left-wing liberal logic person trying to do that. He had researched his answers. He thought out his questions. He did get called out on, he's trying to use I feel statements, but he was doing it from a psychology background. Like he's had training that this is how you communicate. You should say, correct, when I feel, not, direct accusatory statements. It should be. So like he's done some training now. He talks, and I guarantee I probably disagree with 80% of what he thinks.
It's higher.
Which is one of the reasons why I would hang out with him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would go, okay, well, let's have a conversation. Conversation in an echo chamber. Like, one of the reasons I like to hang out with you is because in my mind, you're a religious nut job. Like, some of the things you say when it comes to religion, I'm like, oh, let's debate this. But wait, alcohol first. And so it goes on both sides. I'll debate either one. Sometimes I want to hang out with people who don't think the way that I do, and which tends to be most people when it comes to money. It's so weird because most people don't look at money the way I do. What I really liked about the debate last night, as far as the adversarial rows, because I thought debate, and even Sarah corrected me that it's not a debate, it's a something Thursday that they do on her channel where it's like a rumble. So all opinions are welcome. The title of the video, Landlord versus Overlord, I thought it was going to be like the debate we had when I was in Portugal, the practice one we did with Mike. Here's all the horrible, evil things that landlords do. Even Mike was the only one that brought that up last night. He even said, I thought this was what we were going to talk about. The biggest concern that people in the comments seem to have wasn't rent shouldn't happen. Rent is evil, profiting off of a necessity, blah, blah, blah. Like you normally hear the left-wing arguments are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was how you raise the rent. Most of them were concerned with rents going up too fast, or
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple mentions of rent control, but it didn't really go that much. It was, the binder strategy got mentioned, and, and just like a snapshot viewpoint of, oh yeah, the tenants will raise their rent $400 or $500. To the people complaining about rents going up too fast, that sounds like the horrible reason why landlords shouldn't exist. And so I thought it would have been cool to have a debate of what should set rents, because I guarantee there was a bunch of people in the chat. They even said it. They said rent should be about 30% of my income. So they assume their income should set their housing expense.
Mm-hmm.
It can help you choose what you think you should afford to rent, sure. But you shouldn't be able to go to an apartment complex and say, well, this guy makes $50,000 a year and this guy makes $100,000 a year. So you get the same apartment. This one pays, $33,000 a year, and this one pays half of that, which is where their mindset was in when they made the comments.
Right.
And then you'd go to the first. So that's first step renter. My income should dictate the rents. Your rent should only go up if your expenses do, not that inflation happened and the dollar lost value, so your rents need to go up. And then you go to the first step for landlords. I see that on our side too, like the landlord side of the debate. A brand new landlord will think, my expenses went up, I have to charge more rent, and your expenses don't set rents. Area average rent set rents. Your expenses can go up and area rents can go down. Your market can tank, like Detroit or Silicon Valley. Those property taxes didn't drop to zero. Handyman didn't start working for free.
So I think, so I agree. I think, and I just saw what Dylan had put in there, which was he felt bad for some people that felt like they couldn't get ahead because of external circumstances. But that's the victim mentality. That's the woke victim mentality. Is that I need a hand up from the government to do and accomplish anything because things are unfair. Hey, you know what? I'm a 9th grade dropout. Yep. Too bad. So sad. A lot of people look at me like I'm an idiot. Most of them aren't wrong. That's the way that it goes. But I'm not going to sit there and cry about it like a baby. Like, it is what it is. And my choice is I can stay where I'm at, or I can go and move on and do something and figure it out. And at the end of the day, I completely agree. And you already took the drink, so I just wanted to get ahead of you on that.
That's a good level up.
Yeah. But they will stay in that permanent loop, Dylan. They will. They don't have another option. And the thing is that they will live a life of regret. They'll get into their 30s. They'll get into the 40s. They'll get into that and they will regret their lives. And they'll regret their lives because they're then regrettable. They didn't do anything with the opportunity that they have. I took a kid who was 23 years old, showed him, here's how you put some, I am not a gamer, showed him how to, save, put money away, create a story financially so he could then go and get approved for a loan. It wasn't 10 years. It was literally a year. And then the kid was ready. And then go shopping and then find one. And then here's we put it together and close on it. And that's exactly what happened. And that was a case study. He brought $8,800 to the table for a fourplex that he lived in for free and still made $1,000 a month on the fourplex. He's since done it with another building. So these are all options. These are all doable. These are all absolutely possible if you are willing to, like Sarah said brilliantly, I lived uncomfortably. My life sucked. My life sucked for a long time, she said. It was hard. I worked 4 jobs sometimes. And that was awesome because that's exactly right. That's what it takes. That's largely what it takes. So was super psyched to see that the host was actually as good as she was, because a lot of times they let their bias like kind of control the narrative and who's talking. And I came away from that not knowing what her final opinion was, but knowing that she did a good job mediating the 8 or 10 voices in the group.
Yeah, I'll just revert to the level of simping was shown in the super chat. Now, she did a good job of, you have to wait 10 minutes before you can comment. So to get around that, you could super chat and get in earlier, because we all wanted to defend Mike, or at least support Mike, not defend. He didn't defend him. He walked all over every argument that was there.
Agreed.
uh, as far as that debate goes, though, I think Mike overprepared.
Yeah. Well, I mean, based on the comments that we saw, he could have just sat there and gone, blah, 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 and he was making better points than most of the comments. Like, that's just how I viewed things. And I agree with you. There was a lot of ideas or beliefs and feelings. The room was overrun with beliefs and feelings. I think that's what makes it tough for the host with Sarah to then really get an honest discourse going, because you've got facts and figures on one side, then you have feelings on the other, and then you have other people cherry picking little tiny little things and just going, well, see, but what about this? Bro, that's the system. What do you want me to do? Like, I can't fix the system. Here's the question that you should leave yourself with every single day. Did you make it better today? Did you make an impact? Did you make it better today? Because if every single person can say, I made an impact and I made it better today, then guess what? We eventually end up in a place where it's all good. But we'll never end up in a place where it's all good, because most people do not have the goal of, did I add did I make it better? Did I improve it? And did I make a difference for somebody today? If you make that difference for somebody today, and you made a difference in some way, shape, or form today, that cumulatively adds up. The problem is there's far too many people that don't care to make that difference, and they're in it for one reason only, and don't really care how they get there. But that's just my thoughts on the matter.
So when you have a video that does better than you expect, right? You have a video gets more views, gets more comments. I think Sarah pointed out something last night. She wasn't sure if she wanted to debate Mike. She wasn't sure if she wanted to do the topic Landlord versus Overlord. She said she asked her staff or her crew or whatever they're called, her people, if they should do it, because it doesn't seem like a topic that would get a lot of attention. And then she was stunned. There was 170 people watching a live stream, and there was some linked channels. I don't know how the size of the other channels or anything, but there was a ton of comments. It went on for a long time. I think it's kind of like the video that came out on Zuber's channel yesterday that we weren't sure Zuber was going to put out.
Agreed.
The Section 8 video, where you got a little heated, and you got a lot of comments in the comments, and some of them are aligned with you and agree totally, and then others were just calling you clueless. So you should go through those and respond.
I'm happy to. Clueless.
I think some of those will come up with the financial firefighters Zuber comments video that comes out next time.
Yeah, I really don't mind. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to see. Yep, there you go. I don't mind other people's comments and what their feelings and thoughts are. Here's what I can tell you. If I have an opinion on something, it's pretty damn well researched and sourced and experienced and numbers behind it. So disagree all you want, but you're going to have to bring new data if you're going to change my mind. And so far, haven't seen that. It's just a bunch of posers in the chat that think they know what they're talking about because I hurt their feelings. Okay.
There was a lot of the feeling argument.
Yeah.
And which is why I think I'm glad it was Mike instead of me, because I hone in on that. Because it's easier to twist someone's feelings than it is to twist someone's facts. If somebody comes to me with facts that I don't know, my only answer can be, I have to research and come back. If somebody comes at me with feelings, I can go, okay, how much manipulation do I want to put into this conversation?
Well, what was funny was Ryan's response was, my family's full of entrepreneurs that are very successful. So what happened with you? Because entrepreneurs don't believe what he believes. They just don't. Guys, so for those of you who don't know, this was on the debate was on last night. And it was on the Raging Tomato. It's long, so prepare yourself. It's very long. It's very frustrating in many ways, shapes, and forms. And what makes it frustrating isn't that people have an opposing view. What makes it annoying and frustrating is that people have uninformed views. And then when you try to inform them, they're not really interested. People have the opinion that, landlords have this massive advantage in court. Really? Go to landlord tenant in California, go to landlord tenant in New York, and let me know how amazing our advantage is. things like that. Then other things like, well, the banking thing. Well, this is how banking works. How would you know? You're Canadian. You have no clue how the US banking system works. And you're in Canada and you're not in banking. But you watched a documentary on it at a Holiday Inn once. Like, just have an informed opinion, not one that was somebody else's opinion that they ginned up based on trying to get you to feel a certain way about a certain topic. Every single documentary that's out there, and I watch a lot of them, probably 3 or 4 a week, every single one has the documentarian's agenda in it. So you can take it and leave it, but I want to see what they're reporting as stats and then understand, okay, this is how they're interpreting those stats. So I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's why I stayed up until 1 o'clock in the morning. I leave no man behind. I wasn't going to leave Mike behind. And I also wanted to make sure that they weren't getting the chance. The main purpose of all my super chats was to make sure that people weren't getting the chance to just share their feelings and just opine for 5 minutes on how they felt about something. So that's why I wanted to keep on interjecting. Hey, you're wrong. And here's a fact. Hey, you're wrong. And here's a fact. And, insult some people, cause that's fun too. But make sure to get that stuff in there to break it up from this, standing at the pulpit and preaching for 5 minutes about here's why we suck as landlords and why that's dumb. That's what I felt about it, but I thought Mike did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I think she was such a good host. What I expected was, now that I know her and her ability to, because like you said, we didn't know her opinion at the end. It would have been great had it been a debate between Mike and someone like Ryan or someone else, so we could see.
Yeah. So
so I try to stay open-minded. Tell me why all landlords are not needed. Right, because that was I saw no solutions. Like no one posited anything of, not even the horrendously stupid concept of, well, the government should provide housing for free.
Right.
Like no one said that. There was the get corporations and investors out of owning more than one home. I can sometimes understand if they came out with a good argument of investors shouldn't be able to buy single family homes and buy up thousands and thousands of them. Like if like, I don't know who would do 10,000 single family homes. Even Ken McElroy, it's all syndications and big apartment complexes.
BlackRock's got 70,000 of them.
Right. Which is still how many were built to rent. And it's still less than 3% of the aggregate value of all the single family houses. So I easily refute it shouldn't be illegal for hedge funds to own because it's less than 3%. A lot of them were built to rent. So they're adding to the thing, even though it's not. So it's more rentals, which lessens the demand, right? Adds to the supply for the demand. Doesn't reduce the number.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite like in agreement. I don't think we should control capitalism in a way and saying you can't own certain things. But if you're on the left, the argument is, if somebody owns 300 single family houses in a small town, there are less houses for homeowners to buy. Like, throw that at him, and no one did. One guy kind of said, yeah, they buy up the houses, increasing the demand. And that would have been the thread to pull on. Like, that's why I wanted the debate to go. So you can usually tell what news source people watch by what information they share. You can go, okay, you're a Fox gut field thing, the 5, or you're an MSNBC, a CNN watcher, because they just present their information from how they heard it. But give me the data that supports your opinion.
Right.
Either side, and then you can make a debate out of it. But when you go to that feelings thing that we saw last night, where most people were just, this is how I feel. It's almost like you can't argue with them because they're not wrong. They're just dumb.
How they feel.
Right. It's just how they feel. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they say feel, is because a feeling for them can't be wrong. It's how they felt about the situation, but then you have to put it through the filter of loser. and why they ended up with those feelings. And it's because they are losers. Like there's losering happening in what they've gone through in this area where they don't own a home. None of those guys that had that opinion owned a home. They didn't own a home. They were renters. So cracked
which I thought would have given them a stronger opinion of here's the challenges I face as a renter, and none of that came up.
Well, the thing about it too is, none of us want slumlords. I buy their properties. That is my main source of what I buy. I like to buy the stuff that's junk and then I take care of it. Right. And so we don't want slumlords. I want them gone. In fact, I spend my own money and capital to make sure that they go away. Cracked Canvas said that debate was epic. Well, they say it wasn't really debate, something else. True. Mike did great though. I agree. Lumberjack was ruthless in the chat and I was dying laughing the entire night. Yeah. So I'm more than happy to spend $5 to take my shot. And I spend $5 over and 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 over again to keep on taking my shots, because I wanted to make sure that it was fair. I wanted to make sure it was fair for Mike, that they weren't getting the chance because there was one of him and there was 8 of them. And they were just kind of taking turns going at him. And it's like, but they were bringing up not facts. They were bringing up how they felt about a certain situation that they saw on TV once. And I'm sorry, but that's just not how the world works. We're out there in the world doing the job on a daily basis. I'm never going to show up at 10th man's job and ask him why he flips the burgers the way he does. I'm just going to let him flip the burgers because I believe he knows how to flip them because he's been doing it for so long. So I'm not going to make that adjustment. And then this other guy, Grit or whatever, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes, because he was jumping on there talking about how, they're doing some fund and they got a guy running a fund, and dude, go away with that stuff. And how they only do single family and that investing in multifamily was basically the poor man's approach. Hey, bro, if you want to compare stacks, I'll compare stacks with you anytime. You know what my fund's name is? Go fuck yourself. I own the fund. That's the name of my fund. And I own it all. I don't have partners. I don't have somebody else running my fund for me. These are all mine, and they got my name on them. And so kind of the cool thing about that is I'd love to have that conversation because he's out of his depth. The fact of the matter is that in most markets, single family investing is the short bus of investing. That's a fact. In most markets, it is. There are many markets where you can't get multifamily, and I get that. But where you have the opportunity to get multifamily, and it's not on, Martin Luther King Boulevard, when you have the opportunity to get multifamily in decent areas, it cash flows much better. It blows the doors off of any return you're going to have on single family. And anybody that's actually done it would know that. So yeah. So that's what I have to say about that. And there's a reason I don't do syndications, because I don't want a guy like that at the table thinking, well, maybe we could do something different. Yeah. Why would we take something that's worked, that's made me a Hall of Famer? Why would we change that up? Let's change that up. That's a good idea. It's like making Tim Wakefield not throw a knuckleball anymore. Sports ball reference. It's like making Tom Brady a wide receiver. Why would you do that? That's stupid. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. So, and Ryan, you don't buy an MLK because in almost every city, that's one of the worst streets in almost every city is MLK Boulevard. Just factually speaking, Chris Rock did a big rant about it.
Studies on that. The MLK Boulevard is where you start your hub for public transport starts on MLK and then goes out from almost every city, which brings in the worst elements. So
correct.
In Tacoma, it ended up being a street called McKinley Avenue, not very far from MLK. So it's ironic. Ryan, love to debate. I would do it anytime. I just want the point I was making was I want the other side to have at least talking points, and there were none last night. So I guess I just didn't understand the format of what Sarah was trying to do on her channel. The other reason why I'm glad Millennial Mike went on there to do this instead of one of us to start is I believe now Mike prepared himself. He had good talking points. He was articulate. But Sarah was Twitter baited.
Ryan, he's not talking about debating you, Ryan Lopez.
Oh, I'll debate Ryan.
No, Ryan Lopez in the chat. He's not talking about you. He's talking about a real Ryan.
He said he'll take that earlier. He said, I'll take the debate of I'll debate the pro homeowner side versus rental who wants to fight. I'll debate that all day long because
Oh,
I brought it up as
Ryan.
that's the tack they should have taken.
Yes.
No rush. How much time? How much? 45 minutes. Okay. Sorry.
You're good. So Ryan Lopez, I mean, we'll all debate you on that because we actually know what we're talking about. We've lived it. We know it. But it was the Ryan last night in the conversation for 3 hours that he was just factually and structurally wrong on everything that he shared, but said feeling. And that's why we're more than happy to debate those people, is because feelings is how you feel about something as an individual based on your experiences. It's not based on facts. And so, Ryan, we don't care. Like, we could debate people all day long on these topics. Do I need to convince you? I don't care if you believe me or not. I don't care if you agree or not. It doesn't make a difference to me. Go ahead.
Good. I was just saying, I would have happily debated something like that, but do some research, have your talking points.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and it isn't your emotions. It can be, here's how the consumer feels. So let's consider that in the equation of what's going to happen, but it shouldn't be how the other side feels. And it's not debates aren't about feelings. And then I would take it to that Socratic method of debate of, okay, you explain my opinion to the point where I'm satisfied. I'll explain your opinion to the point where you're satisfied. And then we can debate. And I don't think that could have happened because the feel people couldn't articulate why people become a landlord.
Right.
They were just saying it's greed, it's corruption, it's bad landlords, it's slumlords. It goes to slumlord. It goes to you increase the rent too much. It goes to all of that. Not what happens when homeowners insurance triples. What happens when tenants trash your property? What happens?
Sure.
Like, there's no emotions here. This is a physical impact to somebody else's money. Landlords versus overlords. I think we need to find somebody who's extremely anti-landlord and get them on.
And I don't know.
Go ahead.
I did real estate mindset. I did Mike.
He's not anti-landlord. He's crash bro.
No, but
everybody should be a landlord, but you got to wait for the crash to buy.
No, I don't think he believes that. He is largely anti-landlord. And again, Ryan, debate. So what's really funny is that people that aren't there care about the debate and what other people's opinions are. I don't care. That's why I have an 11,000 person subscriber channel, because if I was here to cater to your every whim and nurse you and take care of you like a little booby, then I would have a much bigger channel. But I don't care about using words that offend people because I'm here to tell my story. I'm not here for it to be up for public opinion or debate. I don't care. Feel that way about it. Don't feel that way about it. I don't give a flying fuck what you feel about it. It doesn't make any difference. You know what matters to me? My family, providing for my family, and in doing it in a way that is honorable, because we're also helping out the problem for affordable housing. So I don't care what somebody's opinion is. Landlords are evil. I don't care. I don't care. What you do is wrong. I don't care. Why talk about it? I just explained it, Ryan, but I'll use smaller words to make sure that you pick up on it. So here's the smaller words. I talk about my experiences because there are people that have hope that they can get out of a job that they hate, or so that they can have flexibility with spending more time with their family. Maybe they have special needs children that they'd like to spend more time with. Maybe they have elderly parents that they need to be able to take better care of because they can't afford that care. So what do I care about? I care about lifting people up that are interested in doing the work. That's what I care about. And so I don't tell them this is what you have to do. You have to become a landlord. I say to them, this is what I'm doing. This is how it works so well. This is the crazy amount of work that I do and what I've accomplished. And you can too. And hey, I spent millions and millions and millions of dollars figuring it out. I want to give you the shortcut. Here's what I do. And I know that a lot of times in the beginning 5 years, there's a lot of people that get screwed and they get taken out of the game. And so from my perspective, I want to make sure that when they get a contract for $7,000, I want to show them, hey, listen, here's how you negotiate it. Here's the conversation you have. Here's what you're actually going to do. Haters don't do anything except for hate. They're posers. They're woke victim posers. So I don't really care. If you want to come up in my chat and waste time and, I'll debate you on that. I don't care, dude. I don't care. I'm here because every single week, and that's why 11,000 people seem to care what I have to think. And the 180,000 views a month that I get seem to care what I have to think. I'm here for the people that want to learn a skill, because this is what this is. I'm here for people that want to learn a skill because I'm really good at this thing. So as an example, Ryan, you would be perfect at a whiny poser. Like if I wanted to learn what it was like to be a whiny poser, I'd come and I'd ask you. That's kind of cool. But it's not, I don't do, honestly, like, see how much content I do? I don't. I do 90 minutes a week. That's what I do. I do 90 minutes a week to spend time with people and answer their questions because I believe I can help them. People hate because they aren't getting any sex. I think that's probably true as well. I think that's probably true as well. But I get plenty of that too.
Here's why I'll make videos like this. And I'm looking for the people like Ryan Lopez. Don't know if it's him in this case. He can correct me all he wants. But there's going to be some people who click on this who are literally here for the nuanced instruction manual. How do I find a market? How do I find a property? How do I screen my tenants? How do I get my lease? Like that, I just need the direction. I've already decided I want to do that. So correct. The how-to is here. But there's a ton of people that I'm working with, like I'm working to reach, I guess, is the way I look at it, who it starts with a negative opinion of money. They're raised by a parent who says money is the root of all evil. My dad hated anybody who wore a suit. He said if they make their money without working for it, they're stealing from somebody, they're ripping them off. So I grew up with this really negative opinion of money. And if you have a negative opinion of money, how likely are you to ever have a significant amount of it? If you literally build your life around, if I go for that promotion, I'm just doing it for the money, and you feel bad, so you're not going to go for the promotion. You're gonna justify, I don't want to be in a management role because that'll have responsibilities. Yeah, but it'll make more money to take care of your family and create some generational wealth with that extra income. So that mindset is pervasive. So I talk to people about, hey, there's ways to make money that isn't from your job. Right? You can buy assets that make money. So when we go into, it's very rare that we do the landlords are evil debate because, first of all, the videos don't get many views. Right? A live stream, I'll generally have 60 to 100 people in a live stream. I've got 43 today, which is impressive for a morning, but it's around half of what I can normally put into a live stream, because this isn't a topic that the people who watch our channels really care for. They want the talking points. So when they're at their Thanksgiving dinner and their cousin says it's stupid that you want a rental, they have something to throw back. But if I can get people to understand that there is a moral and ethical way to own real estate, to provide housing to people who don't have the credit score, don't have the financial ability to fix a roof or a foundation, want to move out from their parents' house. Sarah said it during the debate last night. That's really hard when you move out of your parents' house to just go buy a house. Most people aren't ready. 60% of United States citizens don't have $1,000 saved for an emergency. So obviously there's a lot of people that don't want to own a home. Yep. And we're also at like 30% renters, 35% renters, 65% homeowners. So there's a bunch of homeowners who don't have $1,000 sitting there for an emergency. So there's a way I raise the rents, right? That makes me a horrible, evil landlord. But what do? I include the tenants in the conversation. I use the binder strategy. I educate the tenants so they understand what the choices that they have if they want to move out. Here's what it's like in our market. Here's where I'm at. What do you think is fair? Like, there's a way to do that. So if I can get people to take that little part of their brain that thinks money is evil, sure. How you feel about money is going to dictate how much of it you have. And maybe it's stocks. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe it's crypto. But if it's real estate, and you have an opinion that all landlords become slumlords, because the opinion starts to become a slumlord, it starts with this. Very few people, they exist, but very few people go, I'm going to buy real estate and be a slumlord. There are slumlords out there. There are people who cheat the system, who should be caught, should be prosecuted. But there are also people who think, I'm going to buy property and I'm going to be a nice landlord. I'm not going to raise the rent on my tenants. If my tenants pay on time and they keep the place clean, why would I ever raise the rents? And then the expenses go up over the next few years and something needs fixed and they don't have the money to do it. So they become a forced slumlord. But if we can go, here's how you run it like a business. These are the steps you have to do to have it a successful business of owning properties. You have less slumlords. You have more educated tenants. You have people that can rent. And to take it to the next step, every time I've ever signed a lease or renewed a lease, I sit with my tenants and I say, you should not be renting. You're living in one side of a duplex. Did you know you can go and use a loan? Right now, there's probably a zero down owner occupied type of lending program out there. California, it was up to $150,000 as long as you're not a citizen. And in Washington State, it's up to $150,000 as long as you're not white. They'll give you, Mike talked about it in his thing last night. Our friend, I'm not going to say his name, but our friend that me and Mike both met with, traveled to Gary with, ended up with like $123,000 down payment that if he lives there X amount of time, gets forgiven.
That's unreal.
And all he had to do, and Mike even said, I was glad Mike said it during, he said, he didn't have any documents to prove it. He just went and brought his mom and he said, look at my skin color. Look at her skin color. Free money. If you can get people to understand that, you can get more people on the property ladder. And the more people who reach financial freedom, this is the very selfish reason that I do this.
Mm-hmm.
The more people that we get to reach financial freedom, who can do jobs that they love instead of jobs they have to do for money, imagine how much better the world is when that happens. And it might be 3 people that I impact. It might be 300. I don't have the goal of 1 million like Zuber does, but I would like to affect the more people that you can get to that point, the better their life is and the better the life of everybody around them is. And so that's when the debate comes up of landlord versus overlord. Yeah, we need to point out what causes the bad apples and what causes the bad opinions.
Yeah, so I think I agree. I think Ryan, so you made a couple of comments. One was I either enjoy doing the content or because I care. I care about the right people. I care about the people that are in there doing the work, that aren't making excuses, that aren't posers, that aren't wokers. They're actually like, hey, listen, I've decided I need to do this and I need somebody who's done this for over 20 years and is elite at it and makes a lot of money doing it. I need to learn from that guy. And that's why I do it. That's the only reason I do it. And then the second piece is you're talking about better emotional appeal. That's why Dion's the guy who does that. That's why he has a much bigger channel than me. And that's why he's the keynote speaker at Bigger Pockets, because he's much better at that than I am. And that's the point. The point is that you're sitting there looking for an emotional appeal and to be sold to. I don't give 2 flying flips about the guy who sits in the stands and goes, convince me to be a landlord. Convince me. Go ahead. Go. Convince me. 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to convince me that this is the path I should take in life. I don't give a flying fuck what you do in life. I don't care. Just don't hurt other people. I don't care what you do. If you want to do what I do, I know that there's basically nobody better in the business than at what I do and then at what I've done, period. If you need to be coddled, Dion's your dude. He's going to coddle you. He's going to take you through the baby steps. He's going to make sure you have mother's milk there. But as far as debating you, who cares? Like, who are you to be debated? At least every single one of those people on that panel last night, they've had a ton of experience and have all of these other people and all these other ideas and their think tanks. I use that term more like they're feeling tanks, but they have all these feeling tanks of all these people that there's that value where if Dion can share that with them, then a certain number of those people will actually potentially see the light of day. But 80%, 90% won't because they're too jaded and they don't have any interest.
No, it's less than 1% that takes action, but that's the 1% we're hunting for.
I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, Dion. I was trying to be nice.
Oh, you were putting your feels in there. Can you go to Joe Michael's question? Came in at 802.
802. Joe Michaels, what would you guys do? Purchase the seller finance deal 0 down in 2022. Congratulations on doing such a great deal. Term is up, cash out refi, $60K out of property to pay off personal debt, and a big emergency fund, or just refi the principal. My feeling on that is I would not make unsecured debt secured debt. It's not, I don't believe that as a premise. And what I mean by that is a house with a mortgage is secured debt because they have that asset, and your credit card is unsecured debt because all they can do is go after you and put bad marks on your credit and saying, excuse me, he's a naughty boy. But they can't take anything from you. So from my perspective, I wouldn't be the one to lever an asset to pay off unsecured debt. And then the other thing is it depends on what the numbers look like. Anytime I'm going to refinance or recast debt on a property, the purpose of it is to take that additional income and save that over a period of time to then get the next property, or I get the big bump and then I'm going to go get the next property. But paying off your $60,000 credit card debt, it doesn't actually benefit your situation when it comes to growth of your empire. What it does is it vastly slows things down.
Joe, Matt and I have a divergent opinion of debt.
Mm-hmm.
And so a part of it would depend on what your goal is. Are you wanting the biggest portfolio with the best bragging number on unit count, which after 15 or 20 years will be exponentially more cash flow and net worth than what I have? Then it's probably cash out the money, but are you confident you can put the money to work to make more money? I would invest more so than pay off debt, or I'd at least split the money and pay off the high interest debt and invest. I personally am a fan of people call it equity or taking out money. I call it adding debt to an existing asset. So to refinance to fixed rate debt on the principal, I would be a fan, stabilize that. It's slower, it's not sexy, but I believe the cash flow is much more from less units if you don't touch your equity. It's when you take your equity out to buy other properties that your levered appreciation and your levered depreciation over 10, 15, 20 years will have a better hockey stick growth. But I wanted financial freedom in 10 years, and that came from saving a down payment, buying a place, saving a down payment, buying a place, never touching the equity, refinancing to a better rate, right? I've done that. I've considered recasting some loans. I haven't done it, but I've considered it. I would go for just the principal. The most important thing when it comes to the debt you're talking about taking care of is stop making bad debt. Don't justify, I've paid it down, I have more credit card available. It is, you absolutely cannot use those credit cards or any type of debt for something other than buying assets from this point forward.
And Ryan, I'm not debating the audience. I'm telling them my experience, telling them my view of something. I'm not debating you. I don't care what your opinion is. Take what I share, use it, don't use it. Totally fine. Totally fine. The rest doesn't matter. Recasting loans is when you go to the bank and you say, I'd like to keep my loan as it is, but I'd like to recast it. I only owe 20 more years on it. I'd like to take that same amount of debt and spread it over 30 years instead of 20 years. Some will do it for a fee. Some won't do it. Some will do it for no fee. So those are all options. One of the things that we're doing in our business is that we spend a lot of times with bankers. And so I work with, right now, I think the active count is 5, work with 5 different banks. And so the reason that I do, and the reason I have calls with them every single week, banks and credit unions, is because I want to know what they're seeing. So I can't call the same guy every single day and go, what about today? What about today? What about today? But every couple of weeks I can touch base with each one of them. So what it gives me is it gives me experientially exactly what bankers are seeing that see consistent volume, dozens and dozens and dozens of loans, and they can tell me exactly what they're seeing. I can see it from the residential side. I can see it from the commercial side. I can see it from, large multifamily to small multifamily to single family house. Those are the things that are important to me because I don't want to read it in an article once or watch a documentary and have an opinion on something. I want to actually be in the game on a daily basis, understanding exactly what's occurring in the market. I know factually that there are 2 mortgage companies that are working with basically disposition companies. And essentially what they do is they get the property ready to go from default to foreclosure. Their numbers are off the charts, but it's off the charts compared to where it was 4 or 5 years ago. So from my perspective, I want to have that information for me. And all I do on my channel is share with people exactly what the experience is. Here's how I grow my company. Here's what debt looks like right now. Here's the types of deals that are getting done. All due respect to Dion, you can't lean on him for that, for the bank piece, because he's going to give it to our mortgage broker and go get me the best price. Right. And that's at that time. And he's going to say, hey, and PS, by the way, I'm going to shop you. love it. He's going to get his best price because he's not overly concerned about the service piece. And at a size, you can do that. For me, I want to make sure that as I grow my business, that it's not just rental properties, that it's asset management, and that I understand exactly where my best deal is, and I can have all those relationships. They all know that they're going to get checked up on, but I'm going to then continue to build the one that says, and you find banks in different positions where they're saying, I don't want to take on this kind of debt. Then you find other ones where they're like, hey, actually, we're trying to break into that market. We're trying to get as much of that debt as possible. Can you go out there and do $6 million worth of deals? That's the value. And again, that's why Dean and I why we click, is because he's this piece and I'm this piece, and he's this piece and I'm this piece. And it comes together like a tooth, not like a toothless wheel. But that's where I think it's really important, is that you can then decide what's your best strategy. Is your best strategy calling up a mortgage broker and going and saying, hey, I'm going to price you out to 3 guys? Or is it best to go out to lunch with a banker and say, hey, listen, so I've got this deal. You're my first choice to have that conversation with. What do you think you can do for me? At the end of the day, we're both after the same thing. We just have different ways of approaching it and doing it. And the other thing too is that when you get of size, mortgage brokers are the bane of my existence, because I'm doing one right now. And do you realize that I've sent them 800 pages of 800 pages of documentation? There's no way to streamline that. When you own 53 buildings, I've got bad news. When you own 53 buildings, you have to give them a bunch of doc. And so that's, again, one of those things where if you create those relationships with 5 different bankers, they all have that information. I go through the approval process so I can go in back and tap them on the shoulder. So the way Dion does it for the size of the portfolio is perfect. The idea is that sometimes if you want to get that growth, or if you want to be seen as a business, then it's going to be just a different approach. So yeah, I think that there's value to all these approaches. And, Dion manages his portfolio his way, and Mike manages his the other way. He hasn't audited his leases in 5 years. That's fine if you manage the business the way that Zuber manages the business, which is he does 1 call a week for 1 hour talking about the spreadsheet. And that's not a slight on him. That's the way he runs his business. By like Monday at 9:30 in the morning, I'd be going fucking bonkers, going, all right, what do we got coming up? We got to have some other stuff. And it's like, because I want to be in the business. That's where I believe I can add the most value and I can make the most money. But that's just me.
Did you know that if you mistype cracked canvas's name as cracker, YouTube won't let you put it out there because that's a slur?
Yes.
I went to say thanks. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I know it's a slur. I just thought I was okay with it. I'm the person who can say that. But recasting alone is when you put a lump sum onto the principal of your loan, and it lowers your payments going forward. There was a year where I was paying off my one single family house. That is the only single family I have. It was the lowest amount that I owed, and it was the highest interest rate. So I was just paying off $10,000 or $15,000 a month. And the lender kept reaching out to me and asking me, are you trying to do a recast? And I was like, no, I'm paying it off. I don't want to create any work for you. It's going to be paid off within a year. And so I did some research on the recast. It's a good strategy if you have the money to put to work and you're not trying to save a down payment for the next place and you don't have any debt to take care of that you're trying to lower. I haven't done it, but for some people, it could be the best choice. Just pay a lump sum, and it doesn't affect the interest rate. It's not a refinance. It's just a recast of the loan with a new principal going forward.
Yeah. So Gene, real quickly on your point, you found the best rate with the banker and then you've been going back to him ever since. You wouldn't know that today's his best rate. You wouldn't know that. And that's the problem. That's why people have to consistently go through those steps. It's because you can always choose to do business with that banker because you believe relationships are the most important thing and that money just doesn't matter to you. And it doesn't matter if you're paying a bunch of money for that friendship because you rather have that level of loyalty. You can certainly do that. All we do is that we audit that. It's trust but verify. I have my favorite banker that I start with. But when she came back and she's like, it's 775, I'm like, that's high. And what did I do? I shopped around and I found 675 with a banker that I knew. I saved a full point. That's a lot of money. On that size of a purchase, it was like $600 a month or $500 a month. So that's all my point was in that, is that you can absolutely keep on going back to the last guy, but it's silly to not audit your business and understand what's going on in your own business.
So here's two things that maybe this will help Gene, but maybe this will help somebody else who hasn't thought of this before. Other than in the beginning of your investing, Gene, I don't think you've ever once got the best rate. Ever.
Probably
even
not.
if the lender you were at had the best rates.
Probably not.
When you go to a lender, one of my first brokers actually taught me this. She said, I can't go to my boss and say, I like Dion. Can we give him a better rate or a cheaper buy down, right? Better terms. But if you find another lender that can beat them and you bring that to them in writing, they can match a competitor's rate. So I shop rates every single time, and I will until I'm at the point where I have more than 10 conventional loans and I'm just working out a deal with a bank to create a loan product for me like Matt does. But the way I look at it is, and this is from personal experience, right? My family owns tree services. My dad owned one, my brothers owned one. And I was the youngest slave labor. And one of my jobs that I would do was I would go out and estimate jobs. And so if we ran into somebody that thought we had good prices, so I've had construction work done, I've had a rehab done, I've had roofs put on, and you shop around till you get the best price. You would think, okay, I got the best price, I'm probably going to use that guy next time. So I was the estimator, and somebody would say, well, these guys had the best price. Our prices were dictated not by the scope of the job, right? You have a basic estimation tool of how many man hours it's going to take, what equipment is going to be retired, how many days of labor, what's the travel distance. Like, you can formulate how much a job should cost. But the cost basis for a job, for a contractor or a handyman, is dictated by how much work you have. If you have 2 months worth of work booked up and you have to offset someone else's project or work a weekend, the price goes up because then it's worth doing. And if you have no work lined up and you want to eat next week, the price comes down to guarantee to get it. Lenders are the same way. Just like Matt said, they'll have a time where they say, we need to get more loans on our books, or we need to not increase loans, or we make more money off FHA, so really push it, even though it's the worst loan product that your customers will ever use. Whatever that lender is doing, you don't know until you shop around every time if you're getting a good deal, because they might have so many loans on their books or the wrong risk loan that they say, raise rates a full point compared to our competitors to lower the odds that we get loans. But if we get a loan because some dummy doesn't check other rates, that's what they say in their minds, it's not what I'm saying, then of course we're going to loan the money.
Yeah. So Ninja Vantage, pro strategies for investors at different levels. I can tell you, I've done all the levels. I'm at, maybe not level 10, but I'm certainly level 8. And from a residential investor perspective. And what I would tell you is that it's important to have multiple different strategies, because you can understand there might be that time for transition. I would tell you that Dion's approach absolutely works when trying to get, what he needs to do from a loan perspective. But here's what I can also tell you. I rather have a conversation that's talking more holistically about the business than just a specific loan. Because do you realize that with bankers that very often I can actually get them to basically give away what I'm asking for over here if I'm talking about the holistic business. And so I just want to be able to have the option, guys, options. This is what I love about Dion, is that he lives life by the idea of the most options is best. That's why he's not married. The most options are best. And so no matter how you get through that, I want to have the most options. And so one way is, sure, super easy, if it's a matter of putting it in front of a broker's hands, but then there do come criteria. Do you realize that you can't use a broker after you have 10 mortgages? You can't, because they can't actually offer you that debt. So do you want to be waiting until deal 10 and the guy goes, yeah, I'd love to do this deal with you, my dude, but I can't? What's their option? Their option is you have to sell a house to take advantage of getting that debt. You have to start a relationship based on right then and there. You have no idea if the person's going to be good or not. So, and you guys have no idea, because most of you that are investors didn't live it. I think Craig was around this long. I know there's a couple of others, but there aren't very many. When the great financial crisis happened 15 years ago, the banks and Fannie and Freddie literally said, we are not doing any more loans if you have 4, just 4. So when bad economic times come, they can change that number from 10 to 4. And then guess what? What's Dion going to do when that happens? He's going to go to YouTube University. I hope he calls me, but he's going to go to YouTube University, but he's going to call me. He's going to go, hey, listen, I want to do another one, but I don't want to sell something. And so what's the best way to go get that debt if I can't do seller financing? Because Dion knows seller financing. He can do all those different options. But from a commercial loan perspective, he's going to have to go get commercial debt because you can't get more than that unless you can potentially go like DSCR or some other way. But at that time, you never know how expensive DSCR is. But I know Dion well enough to know he's going to do his research and say, talk to DSCR, and I'm going to talk to some commercial guys. I'm going to talk to this and talk to this. And that way he's in a position to make an informed decision. One thing that we know about Dion, he'll make an informed decision. So I think that's the thing that's the most important, is having a bunch of different perspectives, having a bunch of different steps that you can possibly take to then get to what is going to be your overall best solution. There was another one. Oh, hey, Cody. Good to see you, man. Thanks for the super chat. To Dion, jerk face. I'm just kidding. You hear he has trouble spending the money that you guys give him, and you give him more. Cracked Canvas asked a question. He said, my credit union is located in North Carolina, in Cali. I'm in North Carolina. I have a good relationship with them, but haven't discussed my buying first property in 2026. I need to sit down with the loan officer and talk. You do, but here's the biggest mistake that newbies make. Hi, I'm here to talk about a loan. What? Do you guys want to be different? Do you guys want to be better? Do you guys want to have a better chance at getting the deal? Do you guys want to be taken seriously? Yes, is the answer to all those questions in my eyes. So what I do is I put together a little packet. Here is my credit score. Here is what the goal is. And don't be ostentatious with the goal. I'm going to do 10 deals in 2 years. That will freak them the hell out. Bankers are conservative. So it's like, I want to do my first property, work perfect, perfect my approach, how I do things, blah, 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 but have a couple slide brag deck. And guess what? It will save them asking you a million questions. You will be actually perceived as better than 99% of their applicants, and you will get their best foot forward, and they will treat you with respect and professionalism, as opposed to Betty Joe, the Time Life operator at many of these different brokerage companies. So that's just my take, but put together those types of packages. I did it very early on as an investor because I wanted the bank to know exactly who they were, because I didn't want to close a deal and have them going, so what's your plan next? Like, what are you going to do next? Like, we're getting kind of nervous about this asset over here. Guys, give them the information, and that is what allows for alignment. And that alignment is what's going to get you best price, best relationship, best service. Quite frankly, they're going to know that they need to earn your business, not that you're just another piker looking for a loan. Those are things that make a difference in how you get stuff done and approved, and how you look a lot bigger than you are. Cracked, hopefully that helps you, but put together a couple slide deck in PowerPoint or something like that with just the finer points. That helps you introduce yourselves to them, and they know kind of who you are.
Well, there's 2 ways that I've handled it with lenders to get to the top of their list of, I'm not going to be the reason there's a delay in my funding. First is, they're cheap. Get a thumb drive, put all your tax returns on there, all your leases, everything that they're going to ask for. Just once you've been asked, and every time they ask for something new, add it to your thumb drive. Have a Dropbox, have everything in there so you can just share it with the lender when they ask for certain things, that has everything that they could look for. The last thing you want to do is have an underwriter waiting for something from you that you don't know they're waiting for. You just provide it, like Matt says. They're going to ask for 800 pages of documents. Even a conventional lender, as you get a couple of rentals, is going to ask for several things so they have clarity. It doesn't make sense to them what you're doing with your portfolio. There isn't a standard way to invest in real estate. You have to paint a clear picture with all of the information, and the more prepared you are, the more likely they are to actually say, okay, this person knows what they're doing. I'm going to work with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, we want to give you guys options. Zoob does it different than me. Dion does it different than me. Millennial Mike does it different than me. So that's kind of the idea. Ninja Vanish. Matt, do you ever get nervous about getting too big? Oh, if you saw what I looked at every single morning, Ninja Vanish, you have no idea. Yeah, no idea. No, because you build the business healthy. That's what matters. You build the business healthy, and at any time I can go, you know what? I don't like having 53 buildings anymore. I'm going to sell 20 of them. I can always do that. So I wasn't always focused on anything. I was always focused on only one thing, doing a great deal. That's it. That's all I cared about. The next one. Tom Brady's favorite line, and we're only 6 weeks apart. What's really funny is his favorite line for everything was, "What's your favorite Super Bowl win?" He goes, "The next one." He's like, "The next one." And that's what I care about with my deals. I care about the next one. We've taken care of operations. We know how to take care of our tenants. We know how to take and do a great job with them. We just had somebody give notice. I literally just looked at my phone. He gave notice. They had 3 years worth of leases. They paid $2,500, 26. Well, they averaged about $2,500 a month. So they spent with me $30,000 a year for the last 3 years. They spent $90,000 with me. $90,000. This is one of my 150 plus units. 90 grand in the last 3 years. What we all look for in life is flexibility. My belief was I could keep on doing great deals, and I did. Then I saw the market opportunity for what it was when the water came out and everybody was swimming naked back in 2020. And I said, people can't do math. I'm going to spend a ton of money. I'm going to double, I'm going to triple, quadruple. I'm going to go in all in. And I did. And I bought a ton of property. And most of that property has gone up 40 or 50%. But more importantly, the rents carry an unbelievable number to them where it throws off enough cash flow to choke donkeys, entire families. And so the idea is that I don't know that's where I want to be in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. In all honesty, I don't know if that's where I want to be. The most important thing for me is I'm happy with where I'm at. And if I want to make an adjustment, I could always sell off. Dion might have a smaller portfolio, but we've talked about selling off a bunch of the assets. We've talked about buying some more assets. These are all options that are on the table. They're all options that are on the table. So the idea that's most important is flexibility. Jeff had a super chat. Hey, Jeff, thanks for the super chat. Go Dion and Lumberjack. Lumberjack, did you switch to banks and credit unions right when you hit the 10 conventional loans, or did you approach them before? Far before. Yep, far before. You have to, because, Fannie and Freddie could shut it off tomorrow and say it's 4, and then everyone's dead in the water. And then guess what happens? The commercial guys and the DSCR guys, DSCR wasn't big back in the early 2000s, but it is now. But imagine what that phone looked like when Fannie Freddie said no more regular loans, and all the bankers and all the resi lenders and all the residential brokers are like, what the what? Their businesses completely changed. I had a broker, a mortgage broker company, good friend of mine, 31 reps is what he had. Within 6 months, he had 4. Within another 3 months, he had 1. That's how big they went. That's how much changed for them. When they went from 10 down to 4, disappeared. Then he just eventually was like, I'm going to close it. So I encourage everybody, think of it as a business, because it is. Recognize that you want to do what's best for your business, and that's your responsibility. You are the CEO and president of your business. So I'm having those conversations often because I want to know what the next step is. If you were in the boot camp, we actually brought in a mortgage broker to spend a bunch of time with people and answer their one-on-one questions, and they could get as candid as possible. And here was the solution that everybody found out. I should probably have 4 or 5 people like this that I'm talking to. And that's why I push it so hard, is I want to see you guys talking to a bunch of different people to get your best bet. Dean, I need you to take a question because I see that there's a couple here for me, but I need you to take one. Pick anyone you'd like.
I'm going to go for duplex, Daves. Can you suggest the best way to effectively underwrite the numbers on a 5 to 15 unit deal? I would say if you're looking for the most concise way to explain understanding net operating income and what a cap rate is, I know Matt might have a good answer, but I would go to Cody Davis, Business Adventures on YouTube, and ask him that and see if he'll make a video on it. Because me personally, I've targeted 4 units or less specifically for fixed rate debt. There are 2 lenders that I know of, Velocity Home Mortgage, which will go up to $30 million fixed rate, 30-year debt, and Convoy Home Loans that'll go up to 8 units. Sometimes they've said 10s, but usually it's 8. So I started looking for 6 and 8 units in my area. I was underwriting it exactly the same. I wasn't using cap rate. I wasn't using net operating income. I wasn't, because I'm not using 5, 7, or 10-year debt that I need to refinance, that I need to think of what my gross value is, because I'm not refinancing money out. I'm not tapping equity. I'm not adding debt to the existing asset. I would be adding a property with 30-year fixed rate debt. Exact same equation. To underwrite it for me, annual profit divided by cost to acquire gets me my yield. I would probably increase a few of the numbers on vacancy. I wouldn't go 5%. I'd probably go 10%. The idea being the average stay in a single family house is 7 years. The average stay in an apartment is 2 years. So the more house-like your rental is, right? So a fourplex is closer to an apartment, but a duplex with fenced yards is closer to a single family house. So I would adjust some of my numbers there. When I was looking at those numbers, I would increase the vacancy rate. The maintenance and repairs of gross rents would be about the same. It was just that vacancy that I increased, but it would be the same thing. What expenses are going to be mine? What's my interest rate? I would only do it with fixed rate debt. If you want to know how people do it, that's the wheelhouse they're always in. It's the Cody Davis and maybe the Christian Osgoods of the multifamily strategies, where they target multifamily and have an equation. And usually when you hear people refer to cap rate, it's not to decide, is this a deal I pursue? It's to go, of these properties that I'm looking at, which has the most attractive cap rate, now let me go look at all the other things about the property, just like we do with a regular rental. What's the parking lot? What's the neighborhood like? Is there a smell or a sound, something within a couple of blocks that's going to make it hard to rent these units out? Is it in a flood zone? Like all of those other things that happen after the math. Underwriting and choosing a rental tends to start with math, and it is important, but it's one factor in 20 that says good rental or bad rental.
Yeah, largely I underwrite my big stuff the same way I underwrite my small stuff. I don't get into all these, well, cap rate this and blah, blah, blah. And I don't care. I don't care. I need to know one thing. What's it going to cost me to acquire? And what's my return on that capital going to be? That's all I care about. Return on my capital. And I don't, where I'm a little bit different than Zuber is I don't look at a deal that is a 6% deal on $100,000 or a 5% deal on $1 million. And I still do the 5% on $1 million deal. If it's 6% and 5%, but one of them's 100 and the other one's 125, then at that point it's really kind of negligible. But if the numbers are significantly different, I want a slightly smaller return on a much larger nugget. Because it's not only about return for me, it's what else that asset represents. The other piece too is that there's a lot to be said for value add. That's what the type of investor that I am. So I'm buying with below market rents. And yes, we want to improve a bunch about the property, but it might be a 3-year journey to improve that. However, over a 2 or 3 year period where we actually season them in our portfolio, by the time it's all said and done, we might start at $6,000 worth of revenue, but we're going to be at $10,000 in 3 years, and our costs won't have gone up that 55 or 60%. That's the key. All right, the couple that were aimed at me. Thanks for the clean comment. Yeah, that's StreamYard. It's not me. It's StreamYard making us look just as handsome as ever. I answered the too big. Go watch the.
What's your exit strategy from?
Oh, exit. There it was. Yeah. Yep. So how my exit strategy will work. So there's a bunch of different ways. We've actually already started our exit strategy, even though we continue to expand. Why would somebody do that? Because I want to see how it works. I want to see if I like it. So I've sold some properties, seller financing. I sold some properties cash. That sucked. Or sold a property for cash. That sucked. That was stupid. I won't do that anymore. Fucking wrote a check to the government for that one. That was stupid. But I wanted to see how it works. Well, here's the good news. I did it once, and now I never need to do it again. The seller financing, so far I like it. We'll see how that continues to pan out. So the strategy will be multi-tiered. It will depend on if any of our kids want to roll into it. And so we could do a couple of things. We could sell the entire portfolio. We could sell off pieces of the portfolio and then pay off the rest of the portfolio. So really all options are on the table. So I don't have per se an exit strategy. Dion's much older than I am. Dion's laughing because he knows it's funny.
I have shoes older than you, Matt.
Yeah, that's not true. They wouldn't fit anymore. So Dion's a few years older than me, but literally only a few. So he also has investors in his area that he trusts, that he would like to give that deal to, that he knows will pay him the money for right now anyway, with being like Millennial Mike or, Cody or those guys. Right. So he has investors that he can trust in that market where he could, pass that on. And again, I'm putting words in his mouth. So you can shout me down if I'm not thinking of it right. But I think that he has investors in his market that he trusts, that he could give that sort of a note to. In my market, I don't really have that. I don't really have investors where I'm just like, yeah, I'd love to. There's the big 10. So I'm in the top 10 in the 3 different towns I invest in. I might go there. And just say, hey, and just making a personal phone call. But here's the key. Is that going to be my first phone call to them? Nope. Here's the funnier thing. All of them are older than me. So how are they going to buy me out? I'm going to be the one that buys them out first. Denny's Senior. Stop, Dion. He's not that
tomorrow.
old.
I do tomorrow. It's 55, right?
No, it's 65.
No, it's 55.
You're getting your AARP card, buddy. Congratulations.
I thought that was 62.
No, AARP is 55 now, bub. That's awesome. Congrats. You're going to have a new flashy card to have in your wallet.
Yeah, Denny's is 55. It's tomorrow. Don't take that away from me.
Good for you, bud. Wow. I tell you, now we're going to Denny's from now on, and Dion's paying. We're going to help him spend that cash, and we're going to get his discount.
That's why we have the midnight Denny's meetups when we're in Vegas.
That's so true. So, yeah. So I think everyone, again, I love working with Dion. I love working with Zoob. I love working with Millennial Mike. I love working with these guys because we all do it differently, but we all get to talk on our retired time off, except for Mike, and his will be soon enough, but we get to do this stuff and we get to help people that actually care about, I'm not here to convince you. Like you guys, I think Ryan's probably never seen that video. I'm not here to convince you to do it. If you want to do it, I'm one of the best you can watch. If you don't want to do it, I don't care. Even if you think that I suck for doing it, I don't care. I don't care. I care about being in the foxhole with people that are trying to accomplish something. And at that point, that's why I do my free lives and I spend all that time with people, is because I want to help them get their questions answered and not have it cost something. And I want to give people courage to do a hard thing, because a lot of people get really scared when somebody says, I'm going to sue you. I giggle. In fact, I got the chance to giggle on Monday. We're going to sue you. Cool. See you in court. Like, then they send back a message the next day. We'd like to talk about it. Oh, that's interesting. That's quite the turn. You wanted to sue me and now we want to talk about it. So we talked about it and I just said, just so you know, here's exactly what I'm going to say in court. I'm going to obliterate you. So in my eyes, you probably should work something out with me. And shockingly, yesterday we worked something out. It's that simple. So Dion, any final, we can go as long as you want, but any final thoughts? If you guys have other questions, we're happy to answer them. Dion, super exciting that he's getting his AARP soon.
Well, I've got a dive planned here in a little bit, so I won't be staying around too long today. But I think maybe somebody can put the link in the chat to the Raging Tomato debate. That's what the impetus of this video was. Millennial Mike killed it. He started with a room, virtual room full of haters with just negative comments, calling him a liar, calling him a trust fund baby, saying his parents gave him everything. And within 10 to 15 minutes of that and the support from the people, Wayne Wong shared it with me and said, hey, let's head over there. And he gave me the link, and you canceled your live so people could go over there and show the support.
1,000%.
He flipped the room. He brought them around. It didn't hurt that he Twitter pated the host. That's always a good thing. And
I don't know what that means.
You didn't watch Bambi when you were a kid?
I don't know.
Oh, man, you messed up parents. What parent does? So Twitter pated is when somebody falls in love with somebody else. They get Twitter pated.
Got it.
Oh my God, you haven't seen Bambi.
That I remember.
It's a tragic moment in every kid's childhood that they just need to deal with.
I at 7, I audited my parents. I'm teasing. I didn't audit my parents at 7.
I was 7 the first time my dad punched me in the face, like an adult.
7.
That was my age. That was my upbringing. 7. Yeah, it was good stuff.
It's a little bit earlier than I'd prefer to do it, but okay.
I kind of deserved it. We were on literally a wagon ride to a town. So wagons in the middle of the desert. Saw what I thought was my dad and my brother on horses behind us. So I jumped off the wagon because it was like a parade thing. And I went back to see him, and it wasn't him. So I got lost in the desert, and everybody had to look for me for a few hours. So the reward for finding me when they did was to lay me out. It was great.
Yeah.
So there's your overshare for the day at the end of all of the times you said at the end of the day today. Don't drink and scuba dive. I'm going to wait an hour.
Bring a bigger glass.
I'm going to have to.
Exactly. Dion, as always, pleasure hanging out with you. Guys, check out that Raging Tomato podcast, leave comments, and honestly, try and give them perspective. If it's live, I have no problem insulting, but otherwise I want to try and give you perspective because you're wrong. Like, they're just wrong. So enjoy the rest of your day. Have a fantastic weekend. My boot camp ended last week, so I don't have boot camp this weekend. Dion, do a great job out there scuba dubering, and try not to get harpooned in that black suit.
Nice. My course call this Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Okay. My brother said I was one of the whale pods too, so apparently I need to lose some weight. But Christian from Multifamily Strategies will be there this week. The hour with Cody has been uploaded to the course if you're in it. This Tuesday, I believe, if I could figure out, no, it won't be this Tuesday because the course call. But one of the Tuesdays in the future, I think I'm going to do the version of what the Raging Tomato did, where after an hour of live stream, so maybe it'll be this Tuesday, everyone in the course can jump in the Zoom during the live to answer questions.
Very cool.
So we'll get a panel going towards the end.
Dion's going to have to buy StreamYard, everybody. I guess we're going to spend some more of that cash.
Yeah, send me an affiliate link if you have one.
I'm sure I do. I'm sure I can send it to you. But sounds good, boys. We will see you in the next one. Have a great one.
Ciao.
See ya.